gentlemen, welcome to our most recent podcast. Today I have the pleasure of meeting someone that I admire very, very much. I've known Phil for nearly 10 years now. Phil Bedford is our guest this afternoon. And welcome, Phil.
Pleasure to be here, Dariush.
Thank you very much.
Real pleasure.
I know that one thing I admire about you most is that I see you as an expert in a number of fields, and I want to know how you do that, because you're an amazing. You teach salsa.
Correct.
You, I believe you surf.
Kite surf.
Kite surf.
So nearly.
And you are absolutely amazing in sales and presentation and speaking. So when I think about you, I see you as an expert in those fields, not just somebody who's just tipping their toes in. I want to know a lot more about what drives you, how you become an expert in those fields, how do you keep that motivation going? So all those are areas I want you to share with us, please. But beforehand, I just met you about half an hour ago, and you got scars on your forehead.
I have.
Tell me what's been happening to you. You've gone through the wars, right? You've gone through the wars.
I was actually shopping for a Halloween costume.
Seriously?
Yeah. So now I look like one. So I was shopping for this Halloween costume, and
something was hanging from the ceiling.
Nah, check it out. I was walking through the mall, and there was a party shop, and I saw that it was open before the normal opening time. So I got all really excited. So I'm like, because I'm off to the physio.
You walked in the door.
There you go, right. So you know they have these security
metal
doors?
No.
So from a distance, I saw it was open. So I start going quite quick because I'm on the way to the physio.
Yes.
And my phone kind of went off. So as I'm walking, I look down at my phone and then
straight
wallet. And of course, they only they didn't close it, open it, just that height, so wallet.
And you know what upsets you most? Because it's your own fault. You can't shout or scream at anyone.
Well, mixture of mine and mixture of theirs putting it in. But I'll tell you what, it gave me a great 60 seconds blog post about staying on focus with your vision, right?
So you're okay then?
Perfect, thanks.
But you tell me you're entering a race in February, you said?
Yeah, I signed up for my first half Ironman on the 7th of February.
So what's a half Ironman? What do you have to do?
Right, now you're going to get me in trouble because I'm so new to it, I'm not quite sure the distances.
It's in Dubai, is it?
It's in Dubai. So it's a long triathlon, basically. So it's half of the Ironman distance. So I think, and I'm going to get in trouble with my coach, it's about a 3,000 metre swim, 90k cycle, and I think a half marathon.
And how long should that take you?
I think it's around 6-7 hours.
Wow.
Something like that. So actually on my birthday last year, two of my friends that walked in had just finished the half Ironman. And it was quite funny because they both walked in with these bright red faces and then they just sat down like zombies for
So
the
what
next
motivates
hour.
you to do it? Because it sounds really painful and torturous.
Good question. I like pushing myself physically. In fact, I like pushing myself in a lot of areas. Many years ago I trained with the English Triathlon club at Loughborough University, but at the time I'd had damaged ankles, so I could only do the swimming part. So I was doing the triathlon,
So
but I could only swim.
On the
Yeah, so I messed up my ankles. I didn't have a bike, so I just do the swim, and that kind of brought it to my vision, as it were, that I'd like to do it. And then when I came here, a lot of the guys I started cycling with, they're doing the triathlon. I was like, you know what, I got to give this a go. So I hit my 50th this year. My first goal was to do a triathlon sprint, which I did last year, and did it again this year. And I thought, hey, I just want to get that.
What's the triathlon sprint?
So the triathlon sprint is 5k swim, 750 swim, 20k cycle, and a 5k run.
At speed?
Yeah, so it's faster, right?
Right.
Yeah, so I did that last year, did one this year, and yeah.
One thing I don't get is like 3,000 meters swimming. What's going through your mind after like 200-300 meters?
Haven't done it yet. Maybe you can give me a call when I'm halfway through, I'll tell you. Well, Andrew Dariush!
It's that stamina thing, like I can understand sprint. I was a sprinter. It's those long distances. Have to control your mind to keep it on track and not.
Yeah, I think I'm more worried about jaws coming up than anything, but apart from that.
Are you swimming around the...
It's going to be in the sea, right? So, that's a funny story. When I was 8 years old, my dad took me to see Jaws. And then immediately, like all good dads do, took me to the beach.
To the sea, yeah.
So
without even thinking.
Took me straight to the sea, and I was damaged for life.
But you're a good swimmer, though.
Yeah, I love swimming. I spent my youth competing.
So tell us a little about your background, if you don't mind. You're from the UK. Whereabouts in the UK? Tell us about your childhood.
Born in
brought you
Brixham.
here? Okay.
So Brixham is a fishing village in Devon.
Yes.
So that was my my formative years till 8. Then I lived in the Midlands for another 5 years, and then moved back down to Brixham.
So your dad worked. Was he an entrepreneur, or was
No, my dad was a welder.
Okay.
So dad worked for really high level welding, Lloyd's British School of Welding. Mum was a nurse. No entrepreneurs in the family at all until my dad gave it a go. He had a passion for the sea, so he tried entrepreneurship. Had a boat hire when I was about 13, 14, but unfortunately didn't do too well at it.
Okay, so what's your memory from that? Pain?
My memory from that was, my dad not having a good time. So number one, dad being away from home.
Okay.
So that was tough. The pressure it put on the family, the fact that he didn't get the money he needed, spent his life savings. So a lot of negative feelings around entrepreneurship for me. And so, by the way, it's also one of the reasons why it drives me now, because I see a lot of families going through that same challenge,
Yes.
you know, and I was aware what it was like as a kid. So I think that's kind of one of the pleasures I get now is helping enable, keep the family together, right? When you're an entrepreneur, you know the challenge of, well, I'm working 70, 80 hours a week and I'm not seeing the kids and all that guilt and all that.
Yes.
Well, if you can help facilitate, the transition, it's a bonus, right?
So absolutely. Are you educated background?
Yes and no. I left school with back in the days of the CSEs.
Yes,
Yeah,
I did
right?
CSE and O-levels.
There you go, mate. Well, there you go. I was CSE, so I pretty much only got a history CSE.
Okay.
I failed everything else, so I ended up putting myself back through college and then failed college, and I ended up working on site as a brickies labourer.
Mum and dad disappointed?
Especially as my sister got A's in everything. Everything she did, she aced, and I went the other way. So I ended up being a brickies labourer and putting myself, became a chain boy for a site engineer, and then I put myself back through college. So I went through the BTEC route. So I ended up from no qualifications to a bit further down the line getting a master's degree in engineering.
Oh, amazing.
So I managed to go through, but I worked my way through.
So why did you not quit? Because you got a job, had some money. Why did you go back to education?
My parents always installed education in me as important, and I don't like to really fail.
Okay.
And I wanted to beat my sister.
Yeah. How many brothers and sisters do you have? Just one sister?
Just one sister, Holly.
Okay.
Yeah.
She's older than you?
Yeah, younger than me, which
younger.
made it even worse,
Okay,
right?
okay,
So
sure.
overperforming younger sister.
Sure.
Yeah.
So you got your engineering degree, and then what did you do after?
So I got my master's in Spain. So oddly enough, the reason I did the master's was because
Please tell me you don't speak Spanish, fluent Spanish as well.
Sí, hablo español.
Oh my God. Okay, what other languages do you speak?
Spanish.
Okay, brilliant.
Australian, English, American.
Canadian.
Canadian, yeah, I'll go on with it.
Amazing.
But no, it's, what was I? Remind me of the question?
After your degree, what did you do?
That was it. So, I was actually studying civil engineering in Plymouth, and I ended up doing the Masters in Spain. But the reason I chose the Masters was because it fulfilled a number of life goals for me. One was I'd always wanted to go to Loughborough University because of the sport, but because I messed up at school, I didn't get enough qualifications to do sport. So I got to go to Loughborough. Also wanted to go to another country, and at least 6 months was going to be in another country because it was a European Masters,
Yes.
and I wanted to learn another language. Plus I wanted to top my sister educationally, and the Masters did that. So it hit 4 of my life goals in one hit, so I went to do the Masters, and then never went back to engineering after that.
So it didn't serve you?
It didn't serve me from a perspective of my career as an engineer, because when I finished the Masters we were in recession. We couldn't get a job in engineering, so I ended up in recruitment.
Which company?
It was a company called, it was the ABC Group,
Okay.
which now I think owns Blue Arrow or that sort of transition. So I started off in electromechanical engineering recruitment, then construction, and then industrial.
It's a tough business.
It is. Recruitment's hardcore
Because
sales,
you've got two
right?
customers, right? You got the customers,
Yeah.
you got your people looking for a job, they're your customers, and people looking for to place positions.
Yeah,
right?
I mean, I was never a classic salesperson. I never cold called. I never have cold called, and I was uncomfortable with being branded as a salesperson. And yet, I aced top scores in.
Well, because you
so-
worked hard and you got relationships.
Yeah, I think relationships and working hard, right? And that, when you go back to the degree, I think that's what that taught me. Because when you're doing engineering at uni, you know, you're 40 hours of contact, which means you're doing 40 hours of study, then you go home and do another 40.
Sure.
Whereas most disciplines at uni, it's like 3 hours contact and then you're down
That's right.
the cafe or wherever you want to go, down the union. And so I think it taught me discipline. You know, that you'd have 3 projects to do, you do one, they give you 2 more. So they were always overloading you. And I think what it taught me was 1, discipline, but 2, it taught me networking. And I was in a house of other engineers, so what you did is each person was better at different stuff. So what we used to do was split the workload,
Wow.
come back together, and then help each other because we'd done the work. Perfect collaboration and networking, right?
Absolutely.
So I didn't realise till later years what we were doing.
How you served
Yeah,
you.
what we were doing, right? So yeah, I suppose that's how the degree helped me, but not in a way I ever would have thought.
So you got into recruitment. How long were you doing recruitment for?
5 years.
Did you ever manage anyone, or you always?
No, it was an account manager role.
Okay.
So managing the staff I was taking in, but not in a management.
Did you enjoy it?
I did in a weird way. I enjoyed the demanding. You had to turn up in a suit. It couldn't be a blazer. It couldn't be short sleeves. I liked that. I enjoyed the high pressure and the results. It wasn't good money, but I think I enjoyed being in a high performing team. You know, it was like
So that competitiveness is always in your life.
Yeah.
Wanting to win.
Yeah, they used to make us get rid of the seats and stand up for the afternoon. It's a little bit like the film The Boiler Room, oddly
Sure.
enough. So even though I wasn't cold calling, there was that pressure.
The voice, the tonality, energy.
Yeah, so I enjoyed that.
5 years is a long time.
It was. And then when I came out to Dubai, I got into another role.
What brought you to Dubai?
Came out on holiday.
Okay.
So a
So
friend.
how long ago was this?
This was 98.
Wow, 20 years, 22 years.
Yeah, so a friend of mine was an air hostess, so I came out to stay with them. While I was out here, I went desert driving. And
That was probably the only place to go, right? Desert.
yeah, it wasn't a lot then.
Yeah.
And there was a group of guys already here. So I went out with them. When we were pumping up the tyres, I got talking to a gentleman that owned a business here at the time. And I went down and see what he did. He had exhibition stand sales. I went home and he chased me up, offered me a job.
And 20 years later, you
20 years later, yeah, I was in England in recruitment, dead man's boots, wasn't going anywhere. And just thought, you know what the heck, let's go.
Amazing. But you weren't married then?
No.
You met your wife here?
Met my wife here, yeah.
Michelle?
Michelle.
Yeah,
Good memory.
I know her. Yeah, she's a very nice lady.
Yeah, she's outstanding. Yeah,
Very supportive.
yeah, absolutely. And you know, from an entrepreneurial perspective, you know, one of the reasons businesses fail is your partner, right?
Yeah.
And a lot of people don't realise that. And she was, particularly in the formative years, she was, and even now, you know, in the early years, you had her solid job, the house was paid for, that took off the pressure, right? Really important.
Yes.
And then now, you know, just the understanding of where you're going, the next step, you know, now it's payback, right? It's
Amazing. Congratulations.
Thank you, mate.
And that's another thing I admire with you, your relationship you have, very strong relationship you have with your wife. It's really, it's to be admired.
Yeah, well, she's one of my mentors, right?
Brilliant. So you worked for this stand exhibition company, and then what happened next? Because I'm leading to the networking, I'm leading to referral marketing.
So I was actually quite lucky. So the gentleman that ran the exhibition company, I had a hobby of salsa. I started teaching salsa in the UK.
Okay.
And when I came here, I pretty much landed, first night in Dubai, I jumped in the van, they gave me the company van, and I went down to the Savage Garden at the time. Jumped on the dance floor, because I didn't know anyone, so I jumped on the dance floor and everyone was like,
What's he doing?
this guy's good.
Wow.
And pretty much immediately there were people saying, can you teach? So within no time at all, I was working 4 nights a week, salsa. And I needed it to supplement my income, because when I moved here, I didn't actually do the conversion rate. And I found out I was on such bad money, I needed to work. And so,
the kind of thing you do in your 30s.
Yeah, as you do. Yeah. When you're excited and you don't think about it. Right?
Sure.
So I started teaching salsa at night, and that was the first transition to working for myself. So I had to market it. You know, you don't even realise what you're learning, right?
What was the population of Dubai then? I mean, how many expats were there?
No, I don't remember.
Small. It must have been a small community.
Smaller, but
still
good. Yeah.
Great. And then, so you were teaching salsa a few nights a week.
Yeah.
You still do that now?
I still do it. Yeah.
You teach it.
I'm off tonight. As soon as we finish here, I rush home. I'm going to stick
Although
on
you've got an injury with your leg.
Yeah, but don't worry about that. I'm going to stick on my clown outfit and off we go because it's Halloween.
So, okay, we're going to come back to that. So you did the salsa nights, you earned that extra income, your standard of living improved, and then what did you do?
At the same time as I was doing that, I got into kite surfing. So it was a funny story actually. So a friend of mine, it was the guy whose couch I slept on when I first arrived in Dubai. I hadn't seen him for a few years. And at a party we found out he was kite surfing. So I want to get into this. So we started kite surfing, and then we started to look for cheap kit. And by pure mistake, an international brand sent us their distributor price list rather than their customer price list. And I said to the guys, we should jump on this. So then we jumped on selling the kit. But I wasn't comfortable selling kit without knowing what I was doing. So that led me to go and get a professional qualification in teaching. So I have the salsa, the kite surfing. Then I left the exhibition company and moved into real estate.
So you didn't go into distribution of the equipment for kite surfing?
Yeah, we had 3 brands we represented at one point.
Amazing. And that kept going, and then you went to real estate?
Yeah,
so
kind of the same time.
That would have been just before the boom, right?
It was during, so 2009 now, so it was kind of going. I think I missed the boom.
Okay.
But I was certainly in the Wild West times.
Amazing. So how did that go? Did you do well? Did you not?
Yeah, I enjoyed it. I loved it. I really enjoyed the flexibility. That was my first transition into no basic wage. So commission only. But again, that nice transition of having the salsa, having the kite surfing, which took the pressure off. Yeah, I wasn't with my wife at the time, wasn't married. So that was my first, I call it an easy transition.
But what made you, because the first time I saw you were holding a stage very, very well, professionally, speaking so well, emceeing. What made you so confident to, when did you realise you could stand on stage confidently and do a presentation?
Well, actually, you remember we met in that networking room.
Yes, but and at that time, I saw you a few times.
Yeah.
And you were doing something on stage, you were representing something, or...
Well, this is the funny thing.
Was it maybe BNI? Was it a big BNI event or something?
I don't know. Maybe it was like Get Out the Rat Race or something like that. Those guys were doing. But the interesting thing is, when I first met you, let's go back, say 3 or 4 months before that, or 6 months before that. I was too nervous to stand up and do a presentation. So in that BNI networking group, each of the members stands up and does a 10-minute presentation, right? I hid for a year because I didn't know what to do and I was too nervous.
Wow.
So when I transitioned into the role of them asking me to launch those groups and do the sales conversations, I just kind of did it. And then I suddenly realised, well, actually,
people are saying I'm pretty good at this.
So I was scared, and I'd been not doing something and it turned out that I really loved. Now you can't get me off a stage, I love it.
But you still get nervous, right?
Yeah, of course, but you use the nerves in a different way, right? Mm-hmm. You use them. If you're not nervous in some way, I don't think you respect the audience. Because
Michael Jackson said, I think I may have said this on the podcast, he always got nervous before going on stage. Always. And that made him perform better.
Yeah, and I think you recognise what the nerves are, right? I used to deal with the nerves with espresso. So, I'd be a little bit nervous, so I'd go and whack a load of doubles down, but then I realised it actually wasn't so good for me because I was shaking.
Sure.
But yeah, no, I don't mind the nerves. I don't mind it at all.
So you got into, tell me about referral marketing. Because you said that you've never cold before, right? So somewhere along the way, you felt you had something to offer entrepreneurs that were possibly struggling, or maybe the family life was struggling. How did you go into the Referral Marketing Institute?
Okay, so I was in that BNI network.
Yes.
And I'd taken the role of, like I said, forming and training these chapters. And oddly enough, I'd always wanted to be in training. It was something I experienced as a client years and years ago. I thought, this is really cool. And in my youth, I'd organised activities for groups of German students, looked after them, organised it, done the sales, done the promotion. So I'd kind of as I did my journey, I was preparing for this role. So I was kind of an entrepreneur, but without the pressure of having to pay for a business, because it was hobbies and on the sidelines and whatever. And at the point in the BNI, I just finished real estate. So there was a company I was starting, and the guy that was running it, I wasn't comfortable with the way he was dealing with things.
Sure, his values.
His values. Yeah, and I know that's one thing I like about use your values. So I wasn't comfortable with that, so I left that group found everyone a job that I was working with, and then oddly enough went back to my old real estate company. They called me back, but they knew I was transitioning. So what had happened is I'd rung the BNI national director here and said, look, I have to step out of BNI because I've quit my job.
Yes.
And he said, good. And I went, what do you mean good? And he says, because I need to talk to you about this thing. And this thing at the time was called Referral Institute.
Wow.
It's now called Asentiv. And he said, I need to talk to you about this. They're looking for representation in this market. They want someone to take the GCC, and I think it could be you. So I flew over to Bristol in the UK, and oddly enough, very arrogant, because I've been top salesperson every company.
You were arrogant.
Yeah, not in a nasty way, but in a
maybe overly
I
confident.
know it all way.
Overly confident.
Yeah, because I've been top salesperson every company I've worked in. I've been teaching networking in this BNI group. I'd done all this, and I was like, yeah, what can you teach me? Come on, I know it all, right? I know what networking is. And then when I sat down, I just went, whoa, I've been in primary school.
Wow. And
so I jumped in with both feet. Didn't really understand how it worked, but there was something in there that was calling me, and jumped in, Dariush, and it's just been that was 11 years ago.
Are you still doing that?
Still doing it, mate.
Wow.
So now I own the GCC and South India.
That's amazing. Is this something that you have exclusivity over?
Correct.
Do you have a team of people, or are you doing this?
I have franchisees, so it is a master franchise. I have franchisees, always looking for more, and I have a team of coaches. So coaches who have their own businesses but are certified to do what I do.
So if somebody wants to become a franchisee, what would they have to invest, time-wise, financial? What could be their rewards for it?
Well, rewards are changing people's lives. I mean, that's the be-all and end-all.
Okay, so you need somebody to work with someone who actually is passionate about changing people's lives for the better.
Yeah, and it could be someone who's either succeeded or failed in business.
Okay.
Interestingly.
Through failure they've learned. Right?
Yeah, exactly right. But a lot of our franchisees are people who built businesses successfully, but the business has been more a labour of finance rather than a labour of love. And what they're missing is that. I want to leave. Yeah, I want to leave a legacy. I want to make a difference. I've earned this business. It's paid a little, but I want to make a difference. And again, going back to my dad, when you see the pain people are going through, if you have a tool to help them with that, that's huge, right? And so we get people that will they'll park their other business, put someone in charge of it, and then come and join us, or they've already got a coaching business or a sales business, and they take our products as a license to add to that.
Okay.
But it's interesting, going back to my history, it's something you can learn. That's the thing, what we teach, you can learn it. And I remember when I was 15, I was quite a chubby kid. I was ginger, I was clever. Classic bullying scenario, right? So my early years I was heavily bullied. And that's installed in me something again. When I see people being bullied, and I
want to stand up.
Yeah, and they could be not necessarily bullied by a person,
here.
but it could be being bullied by the economy. It could be being bullied because you don't know how to do your job, the system, whatever, right? But I want to get in there and help, So if I have to help, like when I joined BNI, I joined the chapter that was struggling. I didn't join the one that was succeeding, And when I was 15, I'll never forget. My mum says to me, right, it's your 15th birthday. Going to put a party on for you. So she cooked all this food, got all these drinks in, and dad, mum, sister all went out for the night. And they came back 3 hours later and walked into the room, and I'm there, sat on my own. Nobody came. And you know what? It was my own fault. I didn't invite anybody.
Why? You think nobody was interested?
Because I didn't think anyone would come. So I put myself through all that pain because I wouldn't invite anyone, right? And if you look at a lot of entrepreneurs out there, from your experience, they've got something they're really passionate about. Like I'm a dentist, I'm a lawyer, I'm a designer, but they don't want to get involved in sales. They don't want to promote themselves because if I promote myself, I'm no good at what I do, or if I have to learn this, then I don't. They're uncomfortable with that. So when I look at myself now and I organise a networking event,
but you know what's amazing? You actually took, age 50, you took full responsibility for it, right?
Yeah.
Because most people blame.
Yeah.
Most people become victims, don't they, of circumstances. It's really interesting because you took full responsibility. Say, it was my fault. I didn't do it.
Yeah.
Right? Because I didn't think people will come, so I didn't do that.
Yeah.
So you're taking ownership.
Well, it is, mate. Yeah, absolutely.
And the first thing people gotta do is take ownership because they can make a difference in their own lives, right?
Yeah.
Instead of blaming the economy, blaming the system, blaming the bullies.
Yeah. And here you go. But I spent a lot of money, by the way, on myself to deal with that because I was bullied. There's still elements of it in me now. If I get against someone who's super, A-type personality or super, that little guy that was bullied fires up. And so, I spent a lot of time dealing with that and a lot of money on NLP and coaching and chipping away at that baggage so I could be who I am today. And a lot of people like me don't work on themselves. They'll work on their skills, but they're not working on themselves. And unless you work on who you are, your skills will never be as good as they could be because you sabotage yourself.
So you're your own biggest judge. You're your own biggest...
Absolutely.
Wow.
Right, my old boss used to say to me, I don't have to tell you off, Phil, because you're always 10 times harder on yourself.
Absolutely. I say that. I say if I was another person here, he'd be locked up for torture, right? Because what's going on inside is so abusive. Maybe not always a good way, but always not enough. Always want to do more. Always want to give more.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Well, congratulations. So you started helping people. Why do you think that most people don't succeed in growing their businesses?
I think
because it hurts.
There's numerous reasons. I think the entrepreneurial curse is, as much as it's a benefit, which is I'm going to get out there and do it, the curse is I don't need help. So there's an arrogance that can come with that, which is I know it all. Now, from what I've seen is some people can do it all themselves because they've either got just excessive drive, but it's a lot tougher because you need money, or you can do it yourself and accept the fact you don't know it all and surround yourself with resources.
Yes.
So, and the resources can often help you grow your business for free because you get the knowledge. And that's kind of where I sit.
Yeah.
Is well, it can be a lot easier if you open yourself up to the people that have the knowledge that you don't have, and you can surround yourself. It's like building your dream team for football, right? You say, right, well, I'm not a winger, but I'm a defender, or I've got a goalkeeper. And so what you do is you build and surround yourself with all these different skill sets. All of you contribute to each other,
not necessarily paying.
No. It's a group of people that help each other, right? And so
just because somebody's helping you doesn't mean you're desperate. I find that people say, I can't ask for help because I come across as desperate.
Nah.
But it's not. It's the way you ask, right?
Yeah, because you come as a contributor, right? So we're very much into mastermind groups now as well, and so that's all about. Well, if I'm just looking at myself, I'm one mind. But if I surround myself with 20 other entrepreneurs with all their experiences and all their uses and all their skills, so that's 20 times one mind, plus the exponential addition of all those things. But it takes, like I said, you've got to be a little bit humble to say that I don't know it all and put yourself in that environment.
There are different mindsets, there's different peer groups. How do you choose? Because one of my challenges was I was never right in the right peer group. Does that make sense? I was either two above or two below. Where do you enter, and how many different mastermind groups are there? Where do you place? Like if you're a multi-millionaire, or if you're just a startup, how do you choose and how do you find where to go?
Well, I think what you've got to do is you've got to look for a level that's approximately yours. Okay, and this is just my opinion, right?
Sure.
If like I say, you've got a startup and they're in there with a guy who's looking to exit a business. Well, one person's going to benefit from that to an extent, but the conversation's so far removed and the challenges are so different. One of them's not going to benefit, or one of them will get bored fairly, right? So you've got to have a load of startups around each other, and then you've got to have a load of exiting entrepreneurs around each other. And so I think what you've got that level where you're all having the same conversation.
Does your organisation help you find those mastermind groups? If somebody
that'll be part of it, right?
That's amazing.
Yeah, and then especially if you get the right person, you can actually build a group around them. So that's another element. So I mean, one of the reasons they fail is the wrong people. Another one is, you need to have service people around service people, and then product around product, because it's a different conversation. Right. And of course the people that are running it. So, Asentiv are doing masterminds all over the world. I think and they're great. I mean, whichever way you look at it, they work, right? But some of them fail, and I think it's because maybe it's the wrong people, the wrong person leading it, trying to cram people in just for the sake of money. I think it's about finding that balance, really.
That's amazing. And what makes a great leader to open up a good mastermind group and to keep driving it and growing it and make sure that everybody contributes, where other mastermind groups fail? Could it be ego? Could it be lack of drive? Could it be for the wrong reasons? What's the most common reason?
Yeah, maybe the answer to that is yes, yes, yes.
Because you've seen it all.
I haven't seen. I'm sure there's loads I haven't seen. And I've spent a lot of time talking to people that have run other masterminds, and there's some great people out there, and I've been parts of ones that.
Where do you spend most of your time? Motivating people, building them up, managing them?
Most of my time is involved with entrepreneurs in their journey. So it's either coaching or, because as much as we've got the mastermind side, we've also got, and now here's the tools to help you make it work. So there's two elements to this.
Yes.
Most of my time currently is in the tools side.
Okay.
So whether it's one-on-one or in a group, that's the majority of my time. And you know what, from a selfish perspective as well, if you're a sponge, as much as you're helping them with your area of expertise, exactly, you're learning as well. And I think that you need to approach entrepreneurship as a sponge, not as a bullet.
What I found, agree with everything you're saying. What I found quite fascinating is that when I was doing one myself as a consultant to a business, even if the salespeople were commission only, didn't necessarily mean they were driven.
Mm-hmm.
I couldn't believe it. These guys were not earning any money, and they weren't keeping themselves busy. They're on their phones, playing games, wasting time, chit-chatting, and they knew they were on commission only.
Amazing.
So what I found out, what I think is that motivation is within. You either, whether you have money or not, you're either a motivated person or you're not, and that's what you got to work on. I think. I don't think you can teach motivation. If somebody doesn't have enough money to eat at night and can't be bothered picking up that phone, making a call, there's a problem there.
Yeah, no, you're right. It's funny what people are motivated by, isn't it? But you've got to motivate yourself.
True, and often what I wonder is that if you had an organisation of 30 people, do you have the time to spend working with individuals, find out what motivates them to work them individually, or you just have a common cause, let's go, and there's going to be some passengers left behind. So that's something that I've always been on this fast train, and I'm going to lose a lot of people along the way.
But I think one of the things that's frustrated me over the years is let's say I'm sharing a program and there's 100% success you can have, and people are at, let's say, I don't know, 60% of application, and you can see there's another 40% they're missing, and they drop, they move on, and you're like, but the other 40%, you could be here, you could be there, and it took me a while to realise it's because they're okay with that.
Yeah.
They've hit the point they're okay with, and the other 40%, they've moved on.
Give or take.
And so what you've got to do is you kind of got to say, well, I can do as much as I can do, and then as long as they're okay with what they've got,
yes,
then that's the important thing, right?
I bet you get people contacting you years later saying, thanks Phil, what you taught me years ago, I get that all the time, what you taught me 5-6 years ago, it's changed my life today. Because sometimes it's timing as well, isn't it?
Yeah.
They take it, they might not do anything with it, but 2-3 years down the line, suddenly those skills are serving them well, would you say?
Yeah, I think you're right. There's two elements to that. One is, I think, do you know the oddest ones when you say it from the stage and you don't even remember saying it, and someone comes up to you and says, oh, you said this, and you're like, did I? And you never know what's going to hit someone, right? But the other thing is, I think when you share knowledge, let's say, I don't know, I teach you how to make a pair of wings, right? And I teach you that, and you don't make the wings. And then 6 years later, they go to a program where they get taught to make a pair of wings, and you see them flying, and they're going, oh, this guy's so good, he taught me to make a pair of wings, and you're like, I showed you that.
Yes.
But the thing is, they weren't ready to hear it.
Yes. Sounds like my kids.
Yeah.
I teach my kids all the time, but I hear it off a podcast or something. Come and tell, Daddy, I learned this today. I said, I taught you that 5 years ago, right? Well, I'm just thinking maybe because I'm the dad, they don't listen to me. So, again, you come across a guy who knows a lot more than I do, and you do. Where do you still learn from? Where do you go learning? Do you still read books? Do you put yourself on courses? Do you travel? Where's your growth right now coming from?
By the way, I take issue with you saying no, I know more than you. I think that's.
No,
I think you're being very humble there.
No, thank you. I think you do. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. But I really mean that. I see you as an expert in lots of fields. I look up to you. I really, really do.
Vice versa. Otherwise, I wouldn't be here.
Thank you. So, where do you keep pushing yourself? Where do you keep challenging yourself? Where do you learn from all the time?
Do you know, that's a great question. And I don't know. is the answer to that. I value education. I value pushing myself. I hate exams. So I'm not an academic learner, but I'm a learner. And my wife's always like, oh my gosh, you're on another course. You're on
She's in
another
education.
And yes, she's in education,
yeah,
right?
Yeah.
But it's, I really don't know what drives me, mate.
It's not money, is it? It's not money.
Do you know, I'm economically minded. I like to have good things. I like to be secure. And yet, you're right. It's not.
It's not your primary.
No, it's not. Although my mates, if ever they listen to this, will completely disagree with you. They'll tell me I used to go to a cafe or a bar, and then when it was my round, I'd disappear to the toilets. That's what they'll tell you.
Sure.
But yeah, I don't know. Do you know, I really
something
don't know.
inside.
Do you know? Yeah, something about.
Do you think is your father still with us?
He is, yeah.
Is this something that maybe you want to show your father to be proud of, or something, or parents to be proud of? Because that's something I've looked back and I think it's been my motivation. Mom, I've done it now. Mom's approval, even if I'm in my 50s.
I think ultimately all we want to make our parents proud, right? I do remember they certainly didn't have it easy. So Mum was a nurse, I said Dad was a welder. I remember money was tight, so I remember them giving me 50p pocket money. Yeah. And I do remember them coming back and asking to borrow it back so they could pay for food, right? And so it certainly wasn't easy, and yet they always installed in me. My dad was brilliant at this, actually. He was like, I'll show you once, and that's it. And so he always showed me whatever it was, I'd go in and do it myself, and so that was my mindset. Wow. So I think maybe it is.
Was he a man's man type of guy? Was very alpha male type person? Were you close to him?
Yeah, that's a weird one. Love the guy a lot. At the end of the day, I think I actually grew up scared of Dad. For whatever reason. Yeah. And so, yeah, I wouldn't say we were close. But yeah, I mean,
Are you closer now?
We're closer now. I think it's odd if you've ever done any therapy and stuff. The person that you're furthest away from is the one you're always ultimately trying to please, right? So when I look on Facebook and I've got a comment from Dad, it's
lights.
Yeah, so yeah, Dad's watching. Although his humour's rather strange, sometimes I have to delete the comments.
But that's his way of saying.
Absolutely.
I'm proud of you. I'm happy
absolutely.
With it.
And I think when you say were we close, I know if he's listening to this, then he won't be hurt with that because he knows we were not the closest. But there was certainly, I think, a father-dad respect and love. But yeah, me and my mum are very close. We're mates.
It's amazing.
But it's different, right? You can't be mates with everybody, right?
How's your sister doing? What did she end up doing?
Oh my gosh, my sister's just a pistol. She left Bristol Uni with like an A in first in what she did. She went straight to Art France and Ernst & Young. She's now a partner in a law firm in Plymouth.
Wow, she's a lawyer?
Yeah, accounting.
Wow,
high level accounting, works in mergers and stuff, company mergers. She's got 4 beautiful kids, brought them pretty much up on her own.
And still very successful.
Yeah, although she's remarried now to a fabulous guy. But she did it all herself. I mean, she's just amazing.
So something maybe in your DNA to have a brother and sister being successful, maybe.
Well, I think it's got to come back to your parents, really, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly.
Nature, virtues, nurturing, and all that sort of stuff. My sister was the first one in the family to go to uni, as far as I know.
I was reading that it's through suffering you grow. Through seeing hardships. So that's why I worry about my kids, because they haven't seen suffering, and what's going to be there, how strong they're going to be when they have problems later on in life. What's going to be their driving force. Because my driving force, I'm from a poor background, and I never want to go there again. And 10 years ago when I lost everything. I never want it. It's so hard. In middle age, you lose everything. Yeah. It's so hard. And I don't want to go there again. That's my driving force. It's not a negative one though. Does that make sense? I don't get driven by having nicer cars or nicer boats and stuff like that. I'm actually driven by not losing it. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I got it. But it's interesting.
It's driving away from pain.
But you said an interesting thing there, and I think about this a lot, and I see a lot of people in Dubai who are second generation, right? And first generation built it. Now they build it, and often with respect, the thing is, I'm doing this so my kids never have to go through what I do. And yet I think what we do when we have that attitude is we line them up to fail.
Absolutely.
And so because they've never been through, so one is the entrepreneur doesn't want to let go, so they don't. The secondly is that the kids get it easy. So what you get then is you get a different mindset running the business. Now by the third generation, you imagine how that's, so there's like 95% of family-run businesses are bust by the third generation.
Yes.
And I think what it is, it's because of that filtering.
Yes.
And so you know this, I can see the way you're nodding. And it's a real, I mean, I'm sure you put things in place with your kids, but I think it's that you see like these programs in the UK where the millionaire makes their kids start from the ground up because they recognise that if they don't do that,
Quick story. James Khan is my next door neighbour James Khan from Dragon's Den is my next door neighbour in Thailand. I live half the month in Thailand. We're having a chat and he told me a story about meeting Bill Gates in Davos. And he said he just picked up Bill Gates' email and sent him an email. Bill Gates said, come and see me tomorrow morning at 9 o'clock. So he just turns up, expecting loads of bodyguards, nobody there, sits with him and they talk about charity. And he turns out to Bill Gates and says, may I ask why you decided to give all your money away? And if he's listening, I apologize if I get the facts wrong, but what Bill Gates said is that he spent a lot of time and money through university and research, found out that most billionaires, when they left their money to their families started destroying each other. As you said, second generation, third generation. So what he decided to do, give all his money away, leave a little bit for his family, so at least the children can be together for generations to come. Because when he actually studied it, and most of these billionaires' families, they grew apart, they ended up hating each other, and that was his driving force. And then, obviously, he's very careful where he spends his money with his charities.
Amazing.
Yeah.
You're
right. So, if you had to give advice to people who, I totally agree with you. I teach sales, and I'm not scared of using the word sales, but I know the moment I say sales, 99% of the people are put off because they have this second-hand car salesperson and blah blah, and they do everything they can to avoid the word sales in the business cards. Business development manager, account manager, relationship, whatever, but they avoid sales. So I really understand why people come to yourself, because they don't like sales. They often say, I'm not a salesperson, but I'm a great dentist, this. What advice would you give them? And by the way, I believe 80% of your growth of your business is through referrals.
Right. Yeah.
Although I'm in marketing and sales, I believe, maybe I'm wrong with those figures, but around 80% of your growth is through referrals. How would you, top 3 things you could educate entrepreneurs on growing their business without having to physically sell? Long question.
Yeah, I think you might have to ask you this again. Ask me that again because I escaping to go off on a tangent. I think number one is this whole thing of sales, because I used to be there. I had that same mindset. I'm not a brush salesman, and I think someone once said to me, "Sales isn't about sales. It's about asking someone to let you serve them." So it's just changing that dynamic. How do you present what you do so they can choose to buy?
Yes.
So number one's that. You're not trying to sell something to someone who doesn't want it. All you're doing is having a conversation, finding the gaps, and allowing them to buy it. And you're doing it just through language. Most of it's getting people out of their own way. Right?
Something you said is very interesting, is that if you're adding value, you're doing them a favor, right? They just don't know it yet. So you're going to fix their headache, they just don't know it yet.
Absolutely.
So when you close the deal, call it closing, or say, when can I start serving you? It's actually you doing them the favor, correct?
Yeah, mindset change.
And most people don't see it that way, do they? They think, oh, he's got the cash. I've got to kind of beg for that cash. Because they don't really value what they're offering on the table, would you say?
You got it. I think there's another thing you can do as well, is know why you do what you do. So if you're selling something you fundamentally believe in, and you know why you're doing it, right? When you start asking for the sale, don't think about money. Think about why you're doing what you're doing. Think about the pain you're trying to alleviate. So when you're having that conversation, engage that mindset in yourself. And especially people that are that very sensitive, like ladies, and particularly ladies, they'll pick up on the energy of you trying to do a good service rather than going for the money.
The authenticity. Of the
And by the way, if it's not right for them, don't try and sell it.
Sure.
Let them know. And I think one of the best testimonials you can ever get from someone is, well, actually, they told me I didn't need it. Imagine that as a testimonial.
Yes. But the trust was built, but I told my friend to use his service because he was very honest.
There you go, right? And as when I'm doing a consultation, I'll end up referring, in the past I've referred a good friend of ours, Dave Crane, because, they need to speak in a certain niche. or a good friend of mine, sales coach, Ramesh Halu. You know, I'll refer what they need, and what that does is that engages trust, because you're saying, well, look, you don't need me, but I've recognised
somebody else,
the great person for you, right?
Wow.
So then it enters this whole loop of people looking after each other, and I think that's a nice energy to come from.
Thank you. You've made a business out of referrals. Would you care to share some bonus help to our listeners?
I think there's a couple of things there. If you are thinking of launching a business and you are an expert in dentistry, law, whatever you're an expert in, just recognise the fact that there's absolutely no point being the world's best kept secret. You know, and we see this a lot with coaches. You know, I'm so good at what I do that if I have to market myself, then I'm not really that good, because they should come to me. And you got to realise the minute you start a business, you're no longer a lawyer, you're a business owner. And that transition means that you need to be doing more sales and marketing than doing your own job. And
so how would somebody start? Let's say they're a lawyer or an accountant. Where would they go, Phil? Where would they? I know BNI served me well. It really, really did. And it gave me confidence to stand up in front of people. For 6 years I was a BNI member in the UK.
Okay.
And it really, really served me. Where would you say somebody should start? Where should they start talking to people, reaching out?
I think it depends where they are in their journey and what their needs are, right? And it isn't for everybody, by the way, the whole relationship marketing. It's just not for everybody.
Yes.
I think it's recognising the power of relationships. You know, we talk about referrals, but it's also about recognising that referrals are different to word of mouth, which is different to direct prospecting, which is different to collaboration, which is different to, and these are all relationship bound. Yes. But until we can, actually word of mouth generates more business than referrals.
Really?
People don't realise that, and so until you realise where it's coming from and what it is, well, how can you put purpose behind that? And oddly enough, setting yourself up as an expert by leveraging things like blogging, public speaking, writing a book, all this sort of stuff, this is all part of what we do, right? But
so social media, you say, is part of word of mouth?
Absolutely. Because what happens, you know, I go and meet you and then you check me out online. But the thing is, social media as a tool is really good at PR, building credibility and all that. For a lot of business B2B, it may not convert as much as people hope, right? But the thing is that
it's a massive influence.
It becomes touches, right? It touches. So you've seen them online, you've seen somebody else say that, then you've seen them on a speaking gig, then you've heard them on the radio. Well, suddenly you're highly credible. But what people try to do is they go straight for the kill. It's like, I'll do a cold call, I'm in. Well, what about all that stuff before?
Yes.
So it's not a one size fits all. It's not the website's the only solution. It's not SEO is the only solution. It's not referrals are the only solution. You know, we need to have the whole bag.
Yes. In your courses, do you teach them for the whole thing?
Yeah, absolutely.
Wow.
And until it gets to sales, and then I'd refer to the sales expert.
Okay.
But you know, I look at marketing as in marketing's opening the door, sales is closing it behind it.
Absolutely.
Right. A very good friend of mine actually, Ramesh. So one of my consultants now is a guy called Khaled Horab. Khaled's one of the coaches that's doing well in this region, and he first went to
coaching.
He's an ICF certified MC, really right up there. He's doing really well. But instead of being one of the struggling guys, he's actually doing really well now. So he's working with the Dubai government. He's just doing so well. But anyway, when he first went to Ramesh, he walked in with Ramesh, and he said, Ramesh, I need more clients. And Ramesh did a consultation on him, as you do, and he turned around and said, Khaled, he says, you don't have a sales problem. He says, you've got no one to sell to. You have a marketing problem. And I think a lot of people out there don't know the distinction between marketing and sales. So
yes. So not enough people had heard of him.
The thing is, you can only sell to people you're in front of.
Sure.
So you've got to understand that you've got to get in front of them to sell to them. And
so what did he have to do?
Well, he came to me then
to
learn how to build his credibility on and offline, how to get the referrals, but also when someone refers you, they check you out online. Where's your blogs, where's your history, where's your credibility? So you build up all that, so when you get your introduction through whatever manner, whether it's referrals, word of mouth, whatever, then you come in with credibility, because the more credible you are, the less sales you have to do.
Wow.
So if Oprah Winfrey comes in and says, hi, I want to buy from you, she has to do very little sales because she's highly credible, right?
Absolutely.
Most people are not that. Most coaches, most experts are good at what they do, but when you check them out online, there's nothing there.
But it's an ongoing process, isn't it?
Absolutely.
You have to juggle both at the same time and continue improving your marketing.
But we need it all, right? And unfortunately, most people...
You have to be obsessed, don't you? You have to be obsessed by...
But you know what it is, in my experience, a lot of people they recognise they need the website, but they go and put, for example, you need it all, but they'll go and put too much money in the place at the wrong time.
Yes.
And you know this, it's about balancing your finance, putting your money in where it works, and then as you get more money, then you can start looking at the other things. But people unfortunately go and do what they did when they had a big job, and in a big company, what do they do? Website, advertising, marketing. You do that as a small business, you bust.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So I think that's what I enjoy, is we put them in the communities with people who say, well, I did this and it didn't work, and I did that and it didn't work, and it's finding out what works.
Where do your teams meet?
I do a lot of
hotels
currently.
Oh wow. Okay.
Because of the environment, it just works.
Yes.
So yeah, staying in hotels, meeting the hotels, it works for business around Dubai.
Yeah, the energy in the place.
Yeah.
I remember before I had a license, I used to work in hotels, at hotel lobby, and every couple of weeks we got thrown out of the hotel lobby because I only drank one bottle of water and I had 20 meetings, used their Wi-Fi and left, and I got thrown out. So I don't think I'm welcome to many hotels in Dubai.
I'm quite popular on the other side because I bring
spending
in
money there,
well,
right?
well, I spend money, but also I bring in a ton of business owners, right? So I bring in business owners. Most of mine are small businesses who are going to be thought leaders. So when they turn around and go, no, I need someone to do my sessions, I give them to the hotel. Fantastic. So I think this is my mindset. Is, you know, if you're provide. So here you go. So my accountant, right? So wherever you spend your money, can you also earn money?
Absolutely.
So this is a concept. I think about this. So I've got an accountant. I had an accountant years ago, and he was brilliant at what he did. Right, absolutely amazing accountant. I paid him. He did my accounts. But he could have sat there, and someone would have said, "I need to learn about networking," and he wouldn't have done it.
Yes.
He just wouldn't have taken action, right? So a couple of years later, I moved my accountant to someone else. So they're now looking after my services. Actually, Excel accounting. So they now look after me, and they have passed me business. So now I'm getting accounts done, but I'm also earning business because my supplier has a business generation mindset for me as the client.
But you had to coach them, or they were already.
They've been my client. Both of them have got the mindset of helping anyway. But that's the thing. Wherever we're spending money, could also be an earner, but people don't think in that way.
True. And also what I find is when people are networking, we're going to talk about networking, and they try to sell to the person they're networking with, right? They often just build that trust and they can give you the business, correct?
Yeah.
So
I mean, that's the trouble.
You find when they meet someone and think, right, I've got to sell to this person, but that's not the case, is it?
No, you're right. And that's because people don't understand what networking is. You know, networking is the start of a relationship. It's like, okay, so it's like me walking up to a lady I've never met before and saying, hey, marry me.
Yes.
And they're going to be okay, us to go, you. Well, that's what people are doing at networking. Actually, if you do like the lady, what you'll do is you'll smile.
Yes.
Well, I'd probably smile. And I'm a bit shy, so I might smile from a distance. But you know, you walk up and you smile, then maybe you shake hands, then maybe you have a conversation, maybe you go for a coffee, maybe it moves to a meal. You know,
it's a build-up.
It's a build-up, right? And that way, you know, you also get time to check each other out and blah blah blah. But the point is, she may in the process be saying to her friends, "Hey, you know, this guy's all right."
Yes.
Now, if you're just going for, and that's the thing, when people are going networking, they're going for the marriage straight away. Okay. And if you statistically look at it, if you go to 100 people, and these are sales stats, if you go to 100 people and sell to 100 people who are in the market for what you're selling, only 2% will buy on the first occasion. Right.
The rest take the time.
The rest of them, well, by the way, if I go in and jump on you at a networking event and I sell at you, I'm like, hi Dariush, how you doing? You're like, go away, right? Exactly. So that 98% are going to go, well, actually, this guy's an idiot. I won't go anywhere near him. So I might close 2%, but I've lost 98%.
Opportunity, gone.
Gone, right? But people don't realise that. Now, if I go back to that event and I try and build a rapport with that guy, well, actually, if you go back to people between 5 and 12 times, 85% of the people that are in the market for what you're buying will buy from you.
Where do you cross the line? Because I met people who say, just before you came, a lady was here and saying, look, Dariush, I keep giving and giving and giving, and it doesn't turn into business. Do you start the relationship by saying that I'm hoping to do business with you in the future if we share the same values, or do you just contribute? Do you get to know them? Where do you cross the line from social to business?
Do you know, I mean, you've got to give, they say you give without expectation, right? The minute you're expecting back, you're immediately making a transaction.
So contribute.
Yeah. Now at the same time, there's a lot of takers out there. So it's also about recognizing people that are takers and people that are just genuine. But it doesn't have to be helping someone in business. You could help them with advice. You can help them with just being a nice guy. But it's also about, because we've got limited time, it's about strategically finding the people you want to help.
Yes.
Not just.
That's the machine gun effect. Everyone you see, you meet. Yeah.
There you go, right? Because there's thousands of people out there. Now, but you've also got to go back to the place that allows you to get those contacts. Now, if I go to this networking event once and help everybody, then I go to the one 10 miles away and help everybody. Well, the chances of that ever coming back are minimal because I never go back for them to return the favour. Mm-hmm. What we've got to do is find the same networking event and keep investing in it. And that allows people to generate the energy. It's like warming up air, right? Or warming up water. If you keep doing it in the same place, things happen, right? But unfortunately, most people are doing what we call scorched earth networking, which is go from this event to this event to this event, and they never get back. So there's no quick answer to this. But you've
got to be genuine. You've got to be honest. You've got to be yourself.
Yeah, you've got to want to help, right? I mean, there's people that give so they can get, and then there's people that give because they want to help, and then the universe kicks in. But you can also help that by being in the right place with the right people.
I often say it's like those people who open the door and the other person doesn't say thank you and they want to kill him, right? Because you're doing it conditionally, aren't you? You open the door for him, expecting for him to say thank you, right?
Yeah, and that's also cultural though.
Yeah, but if you open the door and let him go, irrespective of what they say, you don't care, that's unconditional, right? That's what I say anyway. I said, just open it. I said to my wife, just open the door, let him go. If they say anything, it's a bonus. But don't get upset. And she always says, thank you, as they walk by. So,
yeah, but I think that's a cultural thing, isn't it? Because some cultures, it's like, well, all you did was open the door for me.
Yes.
Whereas in England,
it's a big thing.
Yeah, it'd be rude if you didn't say thank you. So I think you've got cultural.
It's so true. So may I ask, where did you get the time to do all this? And be a great husband too. Do you make special time for each other? Do you go on date night? Does she come dancing with you?
She doesn't come dancing a lot because she's a teacher, so she's up at 5. But yeah, I mean, every weekend, we'll do something.
Would you say you were disciplined? Discipline's important, right?
It is, mate, but I save a lot of time. So one of the things I love doing is, and I think I help my clients with it, is save time. My experience, most people are wasting 2 days a week. I mean, all these people have no time to do anything.
Listeners are listening to you now. What would you advise them to have more time?
Things like driving, right? And I can't know, so I see everyone's schedule. But I know most people are driving from one meeting to the next one, across town, and they drive back downtown.
No territory management.
Territory management, no calendar management, no say, well, I'm in this area of town this day, get all your meetings around that area. I'm in this town, let's get the meetings around that area. And it's a little bit like the tail's wagging the dog.
Yes.
So
I say that to my salespeople. Just because they say I'm available, because I'm in.
No.
You actually base it around where you are. Yeah. Act as if you're the busiest. Act as if your time is tight.
Well, and at the end of the day, you've got a partnership with your clients, right? Yeah. If they can't respect your time, they're not going to give you the time to help them.
Exactly.
So it is a partnership, and ultimately they're the client. But you can still ask to, can you make it? Can you move this time? I'm not available then. Are you? Now, I appreciate there's cultural elements in there, depending on who you're dealing with.
Sure.
But at the end of the day, if you can ask, you can save yourself a ton of time.
So you manage your time very carefully.
Mm-hmm.
So driving is one. For a business person starting, how do they manage their time? What percentage should be spent selling, marketing? What do you advise them to do? At the beginning, a lot of selling, recruiting, training?
Well, again, it's a mixture, isn't it, between selling and marketing, because you've got to have the clients to sell too.
Correct.
So definitely, I'd say to anyone, go to a sales trainer as one of your first jobs. So learn how to market smart. Okay, look into what we do. I'm a big believer. If you don't want to come to me, go online and learn. But learn and then make sure you see a sales coach. I didn't do it for years, and when I finally went to sales training, I was like, oh my gosh,
I should have done this years ago.
Well, the trouble is, but there you go, right? I was waiting for the company to pay for me to do it.
Right.
Like most people are.
Right.
And even when they work for themselves, they're still waiting for someone else to pay for them.
Employee mentality.
Yeah, employee mentality. You've got to learn that if you want it, you've got to go out there and pay for it. And that'll be one of my tips. Learn.
Value your time.
Learn. Become a learning and action nut. learn like heck, but take action, because there's a ton of learners out there that never take action,
do anything.
right?
Just keep going to courses.
One course to the next, and just throwing money away.
And it hurts me when I see people 10 years ago, and they were exactly the same place they were 10 years ago, and they're still seeking.
Well, and there's this whole market's full of people that are standing on stages and writing books that are skint, and they've got no money whatsoever. And even the big companies are only one paycheck away from big bucks.
You're so right. Somebody approached me a few months ago saying, "I'll coach you."
Mm-hmm.
And I said, "Fantastic. What qualifies you to be my coach?"
Mm-hmm.
And they got all upset. I asked the question. I'm like, "How can you be so upset?" It's the right question. What qualifies you to be my coach? Right? They should have said, I said, "But if you can't see it, checking my references on LinkedIn, you shouldn't be asking the kind of client I want." And okay, thank you very much for that. That was a good approach. Yeah, that was a good approach. Don't let the door hit you on the way out.
Yeah,
exactly. I was like, I can't see myself working with you for long. Interesting. So, where's the future for Phil?
The future is building my team.
Apart from February.
Apart
we
from
know you're going to win this race.
I'm going to beat myself.
Okay.
I'm going to win it.
Do you have a time in mind?
I do not. For me, I know my goal. My goal is finishing it in the time that's allowed. That is my goal.
So there's a time restriction. This can't go for 8, 9, 10 hours. Is a time restriction?
Yeah, I believe there's a time restriction because they'll want to go home at some point.
Sure. Because marathons can be as long as the last person lasts, right?
I don't know how it works. But no, I know my goal. I realised years ago I'm never going to be the next triathlon world champion or underwater hockey, which is my other love. So I just do it and I know I want to beat myself. That's it. If I've done it.
Amazing.
So the triathlon's one. The other thing is building my team. I mean, Dubai's got 450,000 small businesses. I can't get around them all. I need more people who are better than me, different to me, to get out there and make the differences using our tools.
So you're going to have more franchisees within
more franchisees or community managers on the masterminds.
This is your chance. If somebody wants to become a franchisee, what do they have to do? Please, Eric. We have 500,000 viewers, so...
Yeah, I mean, drop me an email. phil@rebelnetworker.com or Phil, or I suppose you might put the link.
Yeah, we will.
Yeah, put the link underneath. Just drop me an email and open a conversation. A conversation never hurt anybody.
And from the conversation to actually becoming a franchisee, how long does it take? What's the process?
Depends on the individual. It's not for everybody. Depends on where they are in their journey. It could be anything from a couple of months to a couple of years.
And can this earn them a good enough living for them to finish what they're doing, to do this full time?
Yes.
Okay.
And it depends on the person.
Okay. Do you mind if I ask how many you have at the moment? How many franchisees you have?
I've got one franchisee here at the moment, and about 5 trainers.
So huge opportunity.
Yeah, massive opportunity.
Amazing.
You could be working with 80. Let's say there's 100 people, right? And you're working and adding value. That's a good income, and that's 100 people from X 100,000. There's a lot of people out there. A lot of people, and I can't. I'm not everybody's cup of tea, right? Neither are you, neither are you. And the point is, that's why I want men, women, different nationalities, different languages.
So
somebody sings to somebody, right?
That's interesting. But the skills are similar. It's just that relationship building can be different.
Yeah, we've got the same tools, right? But I mean, at the end of the day, if when you're going deep into who you are and what you do, if you're naturally from Pakistan, well, you might open up to someone that speaks your language and you understand it better than some Brit, right, who doesn't understand your heritage or your knowledge or what you've been through.
So true.
So we need that,
So true. So, who are your ideal clients? Are they mostly SMEs?
Yes, entrepreneurs. So first generation entrepreneurs.
Okay.
We spoke about why.
Yes.
First gen entrepreneurs who are big learners. They come from a background in marketing where they will invest and they appreciate spending money to get it. They are coachable.
Yes.
Can't have arrogance. Someone that knows it all.
They're humble enough to
know they don't know it all, and I've had to give money back to people that I know are not.
Sure.
They are relational. They see the value of people. They take action. Now here's the thing with me. They value family, health, life.
Wow.
Because some people, if I free up time, they'll just go and work harder.
Yes.
Now that's okay. I can help that, but it doesn't motivate me.
Yes.
I want to be making a difference with
That's amazing. So to you, it's personal.
Very much so.
It's personal. Amazing.
Very much so.
Amazing.
And going back to that kid, it's the kid that was bullied and stuff. So here's the thing, Dariush. People see me on a stage. They see me filling.
They don't see.
They see me networking, right? And they're going, yeah, but Phil, this is easy for you, right?
Yeah.
you know my story. It ain't easy for me because every time I fill a room, every time I do something, deep inside me is, what if they don't come? What if they don't come? I'm not good enough,
the
right?
hair is standing up.
Yeah, I'm not good enough. So what I've done is I've learned
It's a battle
system
every
and a
day.
process. Yeah. But here's your secret. Even if you're not natural at this, if you can learn a system and a process,
it works for you.
It works for you. And so it doesn't matter if you're a lawyer or that. We can help them. They just got to be willing to learn.
So true. So true. Speaking is something that I'm not comfortable with. But when I do speak, people say, "Oh, I'm touched because my stories are from the heart, right? From
and
the
I've
heart
seen you
to the
speak,
heart."
and you're good.
Thank you. Well, inside, it's that little kid who thinks he's
that
not
little
good
kid,
enough.
right?
Yeah, and it's such a challenge every single time. Every single
But
time.
you know, here's the thing. Have you ever heard the saying, "Those who can't do teach"?
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
Well, I think that's why they become teachers. It's meant as almost an insult, I believe. But actually, the reason they can't do is what makes them patient.
Yes.
It gives them the ability to break things down. It's because for them it was never natural. It was always tough.
That's interesting.
And I think, and so for me, speaking was, for me when I was in, when I was dancing, when I first learned to dance, I was a terrible dancer. And that is because it was hard for me to do. Now I'm a great coach.
Yeah, but you can still dance.
Yeah, I can dance, but I'm a better coach
than you
because
are.
I can break stuff down and because I'm patient and all that, and I can do that.
How long? I've got 2 left feet. How long would it take me? It's repetition. So you can teach anybody to dance, right?
I think so. I've had people come to me because they've gone to another coach and the other coach has said, "Oh, you're useless. You'll never be able to dance. Go away." Well, that's the coach's fault.
Yes.
Honestly, I've taken people that have got 3 left feet, and after a couple of months, they're doing something. I remember a guy once, and it's one of my biggest successes. He came to me, he was terrible, but he refused to give up, right? 6 months later, he's standing there and he's with his friends, and they were all sort of having none of his friends could dance, and this gorgeous girl came up and asked him to dance, and he went up and spun around the dance floor.
Wow.
His friend's jaws hit the floor.
Wow.
And that was it. You've made a difference.
Do you know what's amazing about salsa? I've actually gone to some clubs in Manchester where I lived many years, and it's incredible how men and female dance together in a kind of it's a sexuality. It's beautiful dance, but yet there's no sexiness about it. Does that make sense? There's no sex involved, but it's a very sexy
sensual
dance,
yeah.
sensual. But it's so safe environment. Is that making sense?
Yes, absolutely.
I couldn't understand because they have this most beautiful dance and they go thank you, and they go separate ways. And then another couple come and dance beautifully and then they go separate ways. It's not like, oh, you're dancing now, you like me, I like you, let's go out tonight.
Well, although there are people out there that abuse that.
Do they?
And you can see it and it's completely inappropriate. Yeah.
But it's a beautiful dance. It's a beautiful dance. So why did you choose salsa?
Do you know I was living in Spain?
So you learned it in Spain?
Yeah, I was in Spain. I was just hanging out with a friend, and there was a girl that was running dance classes, and she needed bodies, and I kind of went along as the body, right? And at the time, I couldn't speak Spanish, so I was just couldn't dance, couldn't speak Spanish. I was just kind of almost like a zombie, and so we're doing rock and roll, jive, salsa, tango, the whole lot, and it was the body. And then but I went back to the UK, and I needed something to do, so I got into salsa, and just went from there.
What I find is. Do you have any bad days? Do you have days that you don't feel like going to work? You feel like just not going out of bed? Because I see you and I think Phil doesn't have days like that.
No.
Do you?
No.
You don't? Yeah.
No, not really. I mean, there's days when I'm a little bit more tired than others, but
you
I
always
love what I do.
Amazing.
Yeah, I love what I do.
Amazing. Some central nucleus thing going on all the time.
Yeah, I think I'm blessed.
Yeah, I think
I think at the end of the day, there's people out there working 40, 50 hours a week on a production line, moving their arm up and down, and that's their life for 30 years.
But it's a life you've chosen to have. You're living the life.
Well, they've chosen to do that, right? Or not,
sometimes
or
it's
not,
desperation.
or not.
Yes.
But, and by the way, I've worked those kind of jobs.
Yeah.
I washed up for 2 years. That's how I put myself through college. But
Yes.
I chose to have my day off at college,
Yes.
not my day off down somewhere else wasting my time, So, I'm blessed, I think,
Are you planning 10 years ahead now, 15 years ahead, or you just live every day as it comes? But you.
Yeah, I mean.
There is no retirement for you, though, is there? There is no retirement.
No, and that's the thing, Dariush. I think, I want to travel the world making a difference. I don't know where I'm going to end up. I've certainly got an idea where I'd like to be.
Where would you like to be?
Either Australia or the UK.
Back to the UK?
Maybe. but maybe a bit of both, because wife's Aussie. So
you've been many times.
Got an idea, yeah. But at the end of the day, why should you restrict yourself these days? You know, if you can stay flexible and you can enjoy it
and travel
and retirement's a very, I think it's an old concept if you're enjoying what you do.
Yes.
You know, maybe you amend what you do, but you know you can
maybe
still
have
be making
less
a difference,
energy.
right?
Yeah,
you change it. I mean, look at people like Brian Tracy. What's he, 80? Still out there doing it.
Yes.
You know, and why not?
Yes. Well, I wish you the very best of luck. What I would love you to do, come and have a chat with us in about a year or 18 months, so we can just work and see how you've progressed and developed your business and you expanded it. And I would love to keep promoting your franchise business and see maybe we can get some really motivated entrepreneurs to join your.
Yeah, thanks. And
your
grab
company.
a coffee and after this and see
pleasure.
what it looks like. See if we can return the favour in some way, shape, or form.
It'd be a pleasure. Thank you so much.
Awesome.
How was the event, the Tony Robbins event? Did you enjoy it? Did you go?
Yeah, I did go. Yeah.
Did you enjoy it?
I've wanted to see him for ages. I mean, he's a master.
Never
of his
seen
craft,
him before.
Right? Never seen him, but he's a master of his craft, right?
Right.
Yeah,
the way
it was
he
a
held
learning
the
experience.
audience. I never thought in Dubai. I honestly thought that people won't hug each other. I thought we said, jump up and down and hug each other.
Mm-hmm.
It was amazing how 10,000 people did.
Yeah, absolutely.
So it really doesn't matter where in the world you're from. You still have this need to celebrate and physiology and hugging, and it was really nice. I enjoyed it.
No, I enjoyed it, and I thought Nick was out of this world as well. By the way.
Yeah, Nick, he's become a personal friend now.
Amazing.
You know, when you see somebody, Nick Vujicic, and when you see somebody who, one thing I noticed, we're talking to him and his strand of his hair fell on his face, and he couldn't put his hair back. He had to ask somebody to do that. I'm like, oh my God. You know, what have I got to complain about? What have I got to complain about? When some little thing, you just do this or whatever, I'm not going to know him, but little thing that you just take for granted. He had to ask somebody else to move his hair out of his eyes.
Yeah.
And so humble, so nice, so loving. But his microphone didn't work, did it properly? His timer clock didn't work.
Yeah, that was an experience.
Yeah. He was really upset because he wanted to give an exact hour to the audience, but he was shortchanged 15 minutes. He was so upset. He still got his money, he still had his audience, but he wanted to give more. Which was a real amazing, sign of this guy.
Yeah, I felt for him at that time.
Yeah. Yeah, and they gave him a wrong phone. Locked somebody else's
let's not go there.
I know. I don't care. It was horrible. I was cringing. And the night before, Alicia Keys was doing a rehearsal, and we came, and all they said to him, "What do you need?" And he said, "Just my photograph of my kids and the audience of 100,000 people, whatever." Yeah. And the pictures didn't come on. He only asked for two things and my stopwatch.
Yeah.
So they got the picture of his family, but the picture of the audience, 80,000, 100,000, didn't come on, and his stopwatch didn't work. I was like cringing for it, because I personally invited him over.
Right.
So, beautiful guy. He's got a curriculum. He's got a curriculum to stop bullying and educating people to stand up for themselves at school. Yeah. So I'm helping him selling that curriculum worldwide.
Amazing. Yeah. That'd be worth
I introduced you to him.
Because like I said, my history comes from being bullied. So.
I introduced you to him. Seriously, on a personal level, he's a great guy. Yeah. And he's going to come here next month. See if we can maybe for you to meet him.
No, he blew me away. Yeah. Really
beautiful guy. Thank you so much. I know you're very busy, and I know you're in pain, and I know you have a class soon. So thank you so much for your time.
And thanks for having me.
It's the most time we've spent together, really, isn't it?
It is.
Yeah.
In all these
we send each other text messages and stuff.
Yeah.
But let's make some time to meet each other properly.
Should,
Done?
Yeah. Cheers, buddy.
Honor me. Thank you so
Pleasure.
much.
Thanks.
God bless.